born with a purpose: to transform India with the power of digital revolution. Your company has already invested over 250,000 crores for creating state-of-the-art digital infrastructure. We have doubled our customer base to over 215 million customers now.
From telecom to technology, Reliance Jio has sounded the bugle on its evolution into a tech company which will take on global giants like Amazon. Good evening and welcome to the special broadcast on the 41st Annual General Meeting of Reliance Industries. I am Reema Tendulkar and with me is Kritika Saxena, who was at the AGM since morning. Kritika, it appears that internet as well as the cable TV business are now on Jio's radar.
You know, Reema, what a day. Essentially, this is a digital revolution of sorts that Mukesh Ambani is planning. But of course, the launch of JioGigaFiber is the most important and the biggest headline over here. So the broadband service is promising about 100 Mbps speed and comes with a set-top box for TV sets. To simplify this, cable TV players like Den and Hathway could get impacted and in fact took a beating in trade today. Apart from that, Reliance is also planning a new commerce splash, not e-commerce but new commerce. The plan is to integrate Jio's digital platform with Reliance Retail's stores, that is the offline platform, to take on the likes of Walmart, Flipkart as well as Amazon. Again, this is what we are analyzing over here. The overall investment done to achieve this entire feat is likely to be about 2.5 lakh crore rupees so far. So that's the investment that has been put into the backbone and we are expecting some more investment. 15th August is when the registration can start. So we don't know the exact launch and the pricing yet, but lots to talk about with respect to the integration, with respect to JioFiber. Let's bring in TV Mohandas Pai, chairman of Orient Capital. Mahesh Uppal, telecom expert, joins in now. Rajan Matthew, Director General of Cellular Operations Association of India. Sanjeev Bhasin, the Executive VP Markets and Corporate Affairs of IFL. As well as Sanchit Veer Gogia, the Chief Analyst of Greyhound Research, is joining in on the phone line. We have a power pack panel with us. But let me start with you, Rajan. This is definitely an important feat. Let's talk about the JioGigaFiber. The JioGigaFiber is expected to come bundled with data and voice. They're likely to use voice over VoIP. How much disruption is this likely to cause to the existing telecom players? And do you believe that there is going to be a change in pricing by the existing players? Telecom players for now, let's talk about.
So very clearly, this is a game changer of sorts in terms of the pivot that Reliance has done in terms of focusing from its existing business to a platform-based approach. And I think one of the things that Mr. Ambani has highlighted is the continuing convergence of multiple industries on the single platform that is going to deliver the end services. So in that sense, this is good news for the industry because more and more services are looking to be aggregated, and that gives hope for an increase in the amount of money that the average customer pays. And I think one of the critical points that Mr. Ambani made is that he is moving towards a subscription-based approach of revenue. And that is, of course, the crux of what telecom service providers do. Number of subscribers times the rate is basically what pushes the subscriber model, and it continues over a period of time. So in that sense, that is good. More services being aggregated on a single platform, the platform itself being positioned for the new stuff that's coming down the pike like 5G. That's why he talked about health, he talked about education, he talked about agriculture, things that will now benefit from the state-of-the-art investments in this telecom infrastructure. So overall, I think he's positioned the industry very well for taking advantage of the opportunities that are coming down the pike.
Absolutely, Mr. Matthews. Mr. Pai, come in on this. Since Jio ventured into the telecom business, we've seen Idea report losses now for 6 straight quarters. Bharti's India wireless business reported a loss at the EBIT level. On the whole, for the industry, the aggregate revenues are down by nearly a quarter in the last 6 quarters or so. the next target for Jio appears to be e-commerce as well as cable. Your thoughts on the kind of disruption it can cause on cable in particular and broadband? Will we see the exit of smaller players? Is consolidation going to take place there?
Well, when Jio came out 1.5 years ago with this big launch, I was on TV and I said that this is going to cause a loss of 50,000 crores in revenues to all the big players. It's come true. But that 50,000 crores is a consumer surplus that has gone to the consumers. Jio produces 90,000 crores of EBITDA every year, out of maybe 50,000 crores could be free cash flow, which could be invested back, and there's enormous. Now with this announcement that they're going to take on retail, I think the battle for retail is going to intensify. I'd also said when Walmart bought Flipkart, that they have to look at the big gorilla in the room. The big gorilla is not Amazon. The big gorilla is not going to be Walmart. The big gorilla is going to be Reliance. Reliance already does $10 billion of retail, and now they've got a connection into 215 million consumers. It'll go up to 500 million by 2020, and when it goes to 500 million by 2020, on subscription, they can offer fantastic deals. All the mom and pop shows, all the retail stores in this country will be connected to them for e-commerce, and they will have the back-end supply chain, which is already there. So their ability to aggregate all purchasers, demand greater prices, and sell it to all the people on their system and give lower prices is enormous. And if you look at the other two players, they have come up by giving fancy discounts. One of them gets most of the revenues by selling cell phones and electronic gadgets, which are standard products, and the sale depends on the discount that you give.
Sanjeev, the two listed names, Hathway as well as Den Networks in the cable and the broadband space, do you see them existing? Will we see consolidation? How do you approach these stocks from a trading and investing point of view now?
Yeah, hi. So I think, the reach which Mr. Ambani has signaled out, 2.5 lakh crore, 1,000 crore which has been spent, and the broadband and the fiber network which he is talking of, which Mr. Pai has alluded to, is really going to be, creating a behemoth. So I think the smaller players will have to either consolidate, merge, or just evaporate. And this is now going to even threat the likes of Netflix. So, of the FANGs, we think Amazon and Netflix are going to see a lot of competition, and Reliance is now going to be the, ready-made behemoth which you can see in anything to do with technology and e-commerce. So I think for the local players, it's going to be a really tough time. You've seen the tariff, the wars on price, on what effects it had on the market cap of Idea and Bharti, almost half or less than that. And I think the smaller players in this broadband are going to be, either, like I said, merged or they'll have to tie up or just vanish, because you cannot survive in this type of environment which Reliance is looking to create.
Sanjay, you made a very important point on Netflix and Amazon Prime and the likes seeing an impact. Let me take that question to Mahesh Uppal. Mahesh, you've been tracking this space, you've been observing this space for a very long time. If you look at the existing model that Netflix, Star, which is Hotstar, etc. follow, they are content makers, content aggregators. But over here, in the case of Reliance Jio, you have content makers, aggregators, as well as internet providers. Will this give them a leg up? Or is it a completely different model altogether, Mahesh?
Well, there's no doubt that it will give them a leg up. There is no doubt that they bring a huge literal and metaphorical bandwidth to this space. They bring money to this space. And they bring, as many of our previous speakers have said, huge ambition to this space. And there's absolutely no doubt in my mind that it's going to be tough going for the small players in India. Now, this applies as much to the telcos as it does to the people in the cable space, etc. However, I'm not too sure whether we can extrapolate as easily as that to the likes of Amazon and Facebook or Netflix, etc., because clearly they have a huge advantage of incumbency. They've been in this business for much longer. And it's probably fair to say that this is not an area of great expertise as of now for Reliance. That this expertise is possible to acquire, it's possible to buy, is a different matter. But to suggest that everything is hunky-dory and that it's just a place ready to be overtaken by somebody with ambition and money alone, I think might be overstating it. But yes, I think Reliance is going to give a lot of players, including the big ones, a run for their money.
Okay, Sanchit Veer Gogia of Greyhound Research is also here with us. Sanchit, we're talking about e-commerce players like Flipkart and Amazon getting impacted once Reliance Jio does the horizontal integration of Reliance Retail on its Jio network. Currently, these big players are all loss-making. Financially, what does this integration or hybrid offline-online model mean for Reliance Industries?
Yeah, Reema, great question. Thank you. So I'm very cautiously optimistic about this entire announcement today. While, of course, it's a very strong announcement in terms of the amount of dollars and the money which is going in the entire system. But let's not forget, inherently, Reliance is not a B2C company. In terms of the broader understanding of customer experience and delivering that kind of experience that probably an Amazon or a Netflix or let's say a Flipkart offers today isn't inherently close or native to a Reliance. Just to put this in context, 80% of their business does come from oil and gas still, which does make its thought process and culture very different. Even if you look at the response to Jio apps, it's been tepid, it's been slightly on the poorer side, and Jio overall is mostly a second connection for a lot of people. So yes, while Airtel and the Ideas of the world are losing money because a lot of correction is happening in terms of prices, but Jio still happens to be, for a lot of key players or key consumers in the industry, the second option. Having said that, look, Reliance does come in with very inherent strong points. It does have 4,000 Reliance retail stores. It has about 50 warehouses. It has 4,000 Jio points. What it also has to its great advantage is 1 million+ shops selling Jio connections as a last-mile fulfillment center in smaller towns. And the fact is, if you look at across any e-commerce company today, be it Flipkart or be it even Amazon, the tier 2, 3, and 4 cities are the ones that offer a lot of bullish opportunity in terms of growth. And that happens to be the home turf for Reliance. So in theory, yes, it does add up that, it's going to be a jolt to the industry. But I'm a lot more cautiously optimistic about this announcement today.
Okay, I want to ask a quick follow-up question to Mahesh, but Sanchit, very quickly tell me, reports have said that Reliance actually needs to get an EBITDA of about $8 billion to actually see concrete, reasonable returns coming in from the consumer place so far. Do you believe it's going to be that much? By when are we actually going to see a scale coming in? How long would you give for the consumer play to be big enough to give return to shareholders? That question to Sanchit, and then I want Mahesh Uppal's comments on that.
I would give that business anywhere between 8 to 10 years. If you look at the amount of capex cost that is incurred as part of this, and a lot of unlearning, relearning that happens, and ongoing in terms of investments in terms of capex. And let's look at Amazon as well, the closest competitor. It took them 10 years to be actually break even. So I would take 8 to 10 years as a window for any sort of investment return on investment.
Mahesh, a quick addition to that point, do you believe that it's going to take another 10 years for Reliance to reach that scale, for the consumer business to reach the scale where it can match up to the traditional energy, material and oil and gas footprint?
Well, I would not like to hazard a guess, but I think that it's probably fair to say that it's going to take a long time. And remember also that Reliance is now in an entirely new phase of its business. Now, the importance of fiber cannot be underestimated. We are bandwidth starved. We have a capacity issue with wireless, clearly. So fiber is going to be a big issue and is a big advantage, whoever can put it. But we must not underestimate the difficulty in actually extending fiber across the country. It's not a trivial undertaking. And simply having money and clout and ambition may not be enough. So we must expect a certain degree of delays in this. We must, there is a huge degree of uncertainty in how the whole fiber market is going to play out. But I don't disagree one bit that it's a massively ambitious move, and it's the right direction. We need fiber. Reliance is best placed to provide it, but that should not automatically mean that they're destined to succeed in this. We must be as my previous speaker said, we must be cautiously optimistic.
Okay, Mr. Uppal, we'll thank you for that. Yes, last mile connectivity is going to be a problem. You know, in the whole testing phase, a lot of societies didn't give their approval for Jio to come up and set it, which is why Mukesh Ambani, perhaps in his speech, said that, you know, if you want, just come up and sign, and we will prioritize in all those locations. But I believe Mr. Pai wants to make a point. Yeah.
So the point I want to make is by December 2020, Reliance probably will have 500 million consumers. Now, if 500 million pay 150 rupees a month, that'll be 7,500 crores, 90,000 crores, 40% EBITDA, 36,000 crore EBITDA, which is not bad. But please remember, there has been no shift in enterprises going to Jio because they're not laid the cable. Enterprises are waiting, the high-paying consumers. Postpaid has not gone to Jio because if you already have a number, it's very difficult to change. And if they come with a simple app and change the rules, which I'm sure they can get to do for consumer welfare, where you can shift from existing players to Jio, because Jio gives you high-quality video and 4G and 5G network soon. And if they shift, the per unit revenue will go up. So I think, along with whatever they're going to do, and they go home, it'll be fantastic. But the big battle will be for content. When you have subscription, you require content. Where Netflix scores is the content, and Netflix is pouring enormous amount of money into content creation, which Reliance has to probably spend 5,000 to 6,000 crores a year into content creation across the board, so they can beat Netflix and they can capture that part of the market too. So I think it's a very grand strategy. The key thing is how fast will they pull it up. They have the money, they have the technology, they have the team, they have the resources. It is action on the ground that will be the limitation, not the vision.
Okay, so the long-term growth is what we're looking at. Mr. Pai, I want you to hold that thought. I want to get Rajan's comments on the content bit, but for now we'll have to take a very short break. Reema and I will be back with our esteemed panel of guests. Stay tuned.